I'm not cleaning up the Zach LaVine talk because James is here.
Well, I'll say even to that, when you talk about like the starting lineup, and I understand not having time, but my approach to situations like that, like you said, is James Ham of the Insiders and the Kings Beat joins us here on D-Lo and KC, is like you can't always just change stuff and get better. Sometimes you got to look in the mirror and you've got to be better.
You fired your coach and got better.
That's true. That's true. Right, but even
I hear you.
But even then, like until like some things were just kind of clear that we were hearing. Like even then, my thought wasn't like somebody got to be fired. Yeah. Like you guys just got to be better.
Wouldn't tell Indiana.
Like you have to prove to yourself that you're better than who you are. And that's what I look like with the starting lineup. Like, can the starting lineup and putting Keon in there work and help this team out? Sure. I'm not opposed to that. If they start Keon tonight and they win and they go on, that's great. But Zach LaVine or anybody else, they can't continue to play how they've played, regardless of where they're at in the lineup, and get better. Like that overrides making changes to me. Is you have to play better. You have to play better. And that's more so where my focus is, as opposed to changing things up. Change the way you perform. That's the biggest change that's needed.
Yeah, and like to your point, Kenny, it doesn't matter how many times you change the lineup or anything else. It's still the same group of 8 dudes playing. Like if they don't play well together, they don't play well together. And I think that there is a way to like, mix things up and kind of change the dynamic on the floor, give yourself a better chance offensively to be successful by taking away like some of the options and going with players who maybe don't do more, they do less. And that's where I think the Keon Ellis conversation really does come in. Not only does he help you on the defensive end, we all know that he's a better defender than almost anybody on this team, but on the offensive end, by having a set shooter who just does his role and moves around, that's something that it looks like would help this team by simplifying things with the starting lineup. Now, but the point is, it's still going to be the same, 8, 9, 10 guys that are on the court. And if they can't figure out how to play a productive brand of basketball, it doesn't matter who's starting or who's finishing the game or who's playing what minutes together. Like you're just going to lose. And so you're right. You have to play better. And I know like part of this is they don't have time to grow together. And part of it is, it's like this entire season has been chaos. It's been, negativity and chaos. It's been players, coaches losing their jobs and players wanting out and all that stuff. I mean, it's just been like a nightmare of a season, but you still have a shot. And it's your job as a player who's making millions of dollars to go out there and perform and not put a bad product on the floor. And I think that's what angers Doug Christie more than anything else, just embarrassing yourself in front of your home crowd and not playing hard enough, not playing the type of basketball that fans in Sacramento deserve.
You ever see Doug as angry as he was on Friday night before?
Well, yeah, I mean, there's that video in 2000, 2 or 3 where
he didn't even look angry when he did it. He looked perfectly calm. He looked completely calm when he punched that man in the face.
Yeah, I think Doug is a really, really intense dude when he wants to be, right? And I think what we saw after the game, to be honest, we all knew something had happened. We were just sitting in the media room for like almost an hour or more before Doug came in.
Wow.
Yeah, we were just sitting there. Oh, yeah, it was forever. So I was talking to Kyle about this earlier, and I even texted Kyle while we were sitting there. We had gone like maybe 30 or 40 minutes with no one coming in. And then, media relations came in and said, hey, the locker room's open if you guys want to go in the locker room. So we waited a minute. It was like, well, we're getting Malik and we're supposed to get DeMar and then we're going to get Doug. And we're sitting there. And finally me and Brendan got up and we went around to the locker room. which takes a long time to get to. I mean, it's not like just a 2-second walk. So we walked to the locker room. We got to the locker room and Sean was there. So it's like I joked at one point, we should just have a Kings Beat podcast right now, like in the locker room, because it's just the three of us. And while we're sitting there, DeMar and Domas and Zach LaVine come in the locker room. It's like, okay, that's weird. Why are you three coming in the locker room this late? Because at this point, we're approaching like an hour, 45 minutes. So I'm like, okay, that's weird. And they say, oh, hey, Malik is going to the podium right now to go talk. So if you want Malik, you got to go back to the media room. So me and Brennan took off to go back to the media room. By the time we got to the media room, Malik was done. And we're like, okay, should we go back to the locker room? But by that point, it's like, well, Doug should be here anytime. And then Doug didn't come in. And so it was well over an hour after the game, Doug finally came in. It was clearly like not happy at all. And those are moments where like the right questions, we didn't know what was going on, but we're like peppering him with stuff that might make sense. And, like I asked him, like, why are you guys not running any of your play sets? Why are you not running, DHOs? Why are you not running 2-man game with Malik and Domas? And he was very honest. He's like, they're all those plays are still there for them. They're just not running them. I don't know what to tell. Like, that's what he's telling us. He's like, look, they're just not getting into anything. And they all look lost on the court. And I don't know what it is, how they fix that. I do, like I said this earlier with my partner, Kyle. I said, like, I'm watching a game where, Malik goes to like bring the ball up the court and Zach is standing in his spot. So he likes to come up. He likes to go to the right and get into the 2-man game with Demonis. And he tries to come up and Zach is standing on the right side. So I looked it up. I'm like, well, maybe it's possible Zach only likes to shoot from that side. And no, like his shot chart from the entire season, the last 5 seasons, looks like someone took a shotgun to it, but he shoots from all around the perimeter. So it really is, sometimes it's just about directing traffic and saying, hey man, clear out, go to the other side. What are you doing? And as soon as that happens, Domas would come up, set the screen, they get in the 2-man in the pick and roll action and move to the basket. Well, that doesn't happen. And instead, Domas comes to the left and tries to set the screen for Malik, going the complete opposite way that they ever do it. And they turn the ball over. And you're like, okay, this just doesn't look like the same group of people and they look like they don't know how to play basketball. So it's really like a weird Space Jam moment where it's like somebody like just took the basketball players right out of their souls for minutes on the court. And that's why you have things like 24 turnovers.
And to be honest with you, I mean, like I said, it's going to come off as I'm this super Zach defender or whatever, but that's not on Zach LaVine. Zach LaVine is in a new place. And if we're just playing basketball, and if DeMar DeRozan's on the left side, well, I'm going to go to the right. Like, that's just common. If the other wing player is over there on the left side, I'm not going to run, on his side and clog that side. I'm spreading the floor. I'm balancing it out. I'm going to go to the right. That's just what I'm going to do before I know anything. Yeah. Somebody that knows what we're supposed to do around here, whether it's the coach, whether it's the center that's an all-NBA player, whether it's the guy that's supposed to be a point guard, is this someone that's supposed to tell me, no, we're going to run this on this side, clear through, whatever the case may be.
Yeah, that's one of those moments where Domas should walk right up behind Zach, tap him on the shoulder and say, hey, go to the other side. I mean, Doug said that he's like, there was a play where we have 4 guys on one side of the court. He's like, what are we doing? Like, there is not a single play in our book where 4 guys are on one side of the court. He's like, that's just not, we don't have that in the playbook. So what are you guys doing? And even, I know there's, like, we got this on the Insiders earlier where people are like, oh, the Jake LaRavia honeymoon is over. Like, I didn't think Jake LaRavia did anything wrong. Like, there was a play where Jake LaRavia got the ball at the top of the key, and there were 2 guys on each side, but both on all 4 of the guys were beyond the 3-point arc. And then they all stood there. And Jake starts dribbling like, I don't know what to do. So he tries to break into the free throw line. And then he turns around and they're all still standing there. And so he's just like panicked, like, what do I do with the ball now? I'm just sitting here dribbling in the middle of the floor like I don't know what I'm doing. And everyone just stood there and watched until they eventually took the ball from him. And that's just where like they just need practice time. But also those are moments where somebody just needs to stand up and be a leader and say, okay, like let's take charge here. Let's, whether it's on the court, whether it's off the court, whether it's during a timeout. But I'll tell you, I've never seen anything like this before. We were in the mid third quarter. Doug Christie called his timeout. He had one timeout left in the game. And I was like, holy cow. Sean looks at me and goes, hey, that was their sixth timeout. They've got one timeout left. And I'm like, oh, okay, well, you're done now. Like, there's no way to even make adjustments. And so, like, we're saying, like, well, who's telling them what to do or whatever? Doug had continuously called timeouts, pulled the group over and said, like, what are we doing? And tried to restart, but they just seem to be lost. And I don't think it's them, like, tuning anybody out or anything else. I just think that they are in their own heads a lot right now and just kind of lost as a team.
It sounded like, Hammer, there was a lot of, and this might be a Doug Christie line, or it might have been a DeMar line, but a tough love in the two practices this weekend. In your conversations with the guys after practice, what do you think that means? Like, what do you think was the focus of practice these last 2 days after that beat down by the Warriors?
I think part of it is because we kind of got this from Doug the night before and then Doug the next day. Like the individual accolades need to stop. The wanting to score or wanting to do it, like, that needs to stop. Like, you need to do what's best for the team at all times. And that's, it's not an easy thing because, again, you have a group of players that are mostly offensive players. But if they don't play together, then it doesn't matter. And, I think the other big thing that Doug really, really cemented, he said something to the effect, you have to play like he said, you have to protect the ball like you would protect your child. He's like, and we're just not doing that. He also said you have to play like you like it's your last breath or something. And he's just like, this is not who we are. There's even a moment late in his press conference on Friday night when Brendan asked him a question, and he asked Brendan right in the middle of it. He said, "Were you here? Are you old enough to when I played here?"
It was something about the Warriors fans in the arena. I remember that question I think it was the last question of the scrum, and like it was something about like Warriors fans being in the arena.
Yeah, and Doug was very clear, like, we didn't do that when I was here. This is not how we performed. You can say a lot of things about that team, but the one thing you can say is that we represented the city. We represented our home court. We played for our fans in a way that is not what you saw tonight. He said, whatever you saw, that's not it. And I thought it was a really interesting moment. So he was hot, but it wasn't like he had like lost his cool. And to be honest with you, like 15 years covering this team, I've never seen a starters only meeting. Like, this was you've had players only meetings, you've had coaches meetings, you've had team meetings, you've had all types of different meetings. I've never heard of a coach pulling 5 starters aside and saying, hey, look, like, this is on you guys. Like, you need to figure this out because the other guys are here to support you. That's all of the other players on this roster are support pieces. Like Jonas Valanciunas, very nice player. He's a support person. He's a role player in the NBA. LaRavia, role player. Trey Lyles, role player. Keon Ellis, role player. Like, it doesn't matter whether they're high end or low end role players. They're all role players, right? So it does have to start with the 5 guys that are on the court. So, but you just don't usually see a coach single out the group that is. Because one thing to call De'Aaron Fox out when he, cost you the game against Detroit, which is what Mike Brown chose to do. It's a whole other thing to call out like 5 individual players and like, hey, all of you guys, you're coming with me into the principal's office.
Well, it's one of those things like we talk about, and I understand it. We talk about like like my approach to stuff. Like it's not about changing things. Like we, settle down. We'll figure this out. There is also a side of me. Feel like Doug has it. A lot of people, have this, but I'm gonna talk to those guys. Hey, let's go. Like, let's go. Like, it feels like there's no sense of urgency. No, there's urgency. I'm not gonna take this guy and this guy out of this lineup, but I'm looking at you right now. Let's go. What are you doing?
Mm-hmm.
Stop tiptoeing around here. Zach LaVine, if you're a 25-point per game shooter, shoot the damn ball. Let's go. And I think that's a lot of what was going on in meetings, in practice over there, is let's go. Like, stop all this footing around. Let's go.
Oh, you was about to use a bad word right there. Man. Oh, Casey, this fictitious KC fired up.
But that's more so what it's about. It's about, like, I'm not really in like changing this, changing that, but I will, before I do that, at the very least, I'll say that before I change anything around, I'm going to tell you, hey, let's pick this up. Let's pick it up.
Maybe
you
that's what was
guys
said
pick
the
it
other
up.
night.
Pick it up.
Yeah, I find it interesting too. Zebra PT asked who leaked it. I don't know who leaked it. I don't know if that was the team doing that. I don't know if it was a specific player who leaked to Chris Haynes that there was a meeting. But when I went back and watched the clip from Friday night afterwards, it was right there in front of us. We just didn't know, because that's not something you like. Did you just hold a 5-person meeting, start a starters jacket only meeting in the coach's office? Like, we didn't know, but if you go back and watch it later, it makes more sense with the context that they had a meeting. But like, look, that doesn't really matter at the end of the day if they decide to leak it or not, because then the focus of this weekend became exactly that there was a meeting, and it went away from the fact that their in-state rival, the former, their owner is a former owner of that team. Like all of the ties between the Warriors and Kings, it went away from the fact that you just got your butt kicked by your rival. And it very much got focused on the fact that there was this weird meeting. And, that's we only got DeMar on Saturday, and DeMar, and we got Doug. And then on Sunday, I think it was Keon. I didn't go on Sunday, but it was Keon and someone else.
I think it was it Zach? Zach either spoke yesterday or today. I'm not sure which one, but
I think Zach was yesterday. Shoot around today while I was on the show. Well, no, I think Zach did speak today at shoot around, and so did Jonas. I'm not sure who else spoke yesterday. Either way, I mean, like, it's really tough to get to the bottom, especially if you ask Keon questions. Keon's like, "Well, I wasn't in the room. Like, I ain't the one doing a bunch of weird stuff." Like, I mean, he didn't say that, but that's kind of like it's always tough. Like, I've been around this team long enough, and we had that weird moment years ago where Rajon Rondo decided to say something horribly offensive to Bill Kennedy during a game in Oklahoma. I mean, I'm not Oklahoma, in Mexico City. They played the game in Mexico City at Aztec Stadium or wherever, and they came back, and the news had broke that Bill Kennedy had, that Rondo had said some things very inappropriate to Bill Kennedy, and Caron Butler came out and talked to us instead of Rondo. That was it. And it was like, well, I didn't say anything. It's like, well, why are you standing up here? And then it became like a veteran moment where it was weird. Another veteran was covering for another veteran. A veteran was covering for another veteran who had done something stupid. So, yeah, there's always these weird things that happen here. 40-point blowout losses, and they send up a two-way player. Okay. Yeah. These things happen.
Oh, that got Keon pretty well conditioned. Like, he's very good in front of the mic. So that was great practice for Keon Ellis, because I really enjoy when Keon talks, because he just gives you answers, and I always appreciate that about him.
Yep.
With that said, Hammer, the scrutiny will be a little greater now, because I think there'll be, and you correct me if I'm wrong, I think there'll be a feeling of, well, if this didn't work, like if they lose to Charlotte tonight, you lose, that's your third straight. You also lose to a bad basketball team, or a team that's at least worse than you, and you're like, well, you pulled a starters only meeting card. You've pulled all of these different, like you're running out of cards to play here, and I think there'll be a big. I think there'll be a really frustrated fan base, Hammer, if this team doesn't play well tonight.
No, I would agree with you, especially they've had 4 practices in the last 5 days. This is so you want to, like, again, there are reasons why this team looks weird, but they're also at a certain point, those reasons become excuses. And, if one of the reasons why you don't look good as a team is because you had no time to practice before the All-Star break and you were all thrown in together into this weird situation with your best player being traded and, really resetting everything on the fly, and 2 additional trades that brought in other pieces. Like, there's a lot going on. Like, now you're kind of past that. Like, you had the 4 days to practice. You got back to basics. One day they worked offense, one day they worked defense. They are really trying to focus on figuring out how to fix the offense, because that's leading to all this transition basketball and all of those points off of turnovers and all that stuff. But if they don't play well tonight, then I would expect a completely different starting lineup on Wednesday. If that's what we see tonight, because you're right. If you do this meeting and you have conversations, and you don't want to say it, but I'll say it, like, the Hornets are a horrible basketball team. I mean, the Kings aren't good, right? We can all acknowledge that the Kings are a 500 basketball team. They are mediocre. They're middle of the pack. Well, not even say middle of the pack. They're literally 28 and 28 on the season. This team coming in tonight has 14 wins. They have half as many wins as you, and you're not good. So, yeah, this is a horrible basketball team. If you lose to this game and then you walk into the Utah game and you don't play well against Utah, then it's all kinds of chaos here. And that's just because your season changes. This strength of schedule only gets worse after these next 2 games. And, these are the gimmies in the schedule. And after this, it gets more difficult. And so you have to get right with this game. And even if you do, you've got to not just get right, but you have to start looking right. It can't just be, oh, they escaped with a 3-point win. That was like a week ago, 2 weeks ago, when that was okay, when you're playing 3 games in 4 nights. This is one of the worst teams in basketball. You need to go out and blow this team out. They just lost by 53 to Portland. And Portland's not great. So, yeah, it's a tough situation to be in, but I would expect lineup changes if something doesn't change tonight.
I agree. I mean, you laid it out perfectly, Am. I'm gonna talk to you. I'm gonna talk to you about waking up. Consider that your last warning. Like, I'm gonna talk to you. I'm gonna show you this certain respect to have a conversation with you and let you know, hey, wake up. Because if you don't wake up, changes will need to be made. Simple as that. And I think that's definitely in line if they don't, if they lose. I don't know. I know a lot of that. Ham said, they should blow them out. Some people in the chat were saying if it's close, I'm gonna be frustrated for real. If they win by 4 tonight, changes aren't happening on Wednesday. Like, you just win the game. You know what I mean? But the thought of this being, a team that's looking to find a rhythm together, they haven't practiced or anything, that's no excuse for 24 turnovers. Like, if we all get together and play pickup basketball, we shouldn't be turning the ball over 24 times. Take care of the basketball. Take care of the basketball. Doug says, treat it like it's your child. I remember Chad Johnson, different sport, but he said, don't drop the baby. That's what we talk about with the football. Don't drop the baby. Take care of the basketball. That's one way automatically to kind of help you with an opportunity to improve as a team, is if you don't just give the other team opportunities and take opportunities away from yourself. So, yeah, that would be first and foremost after what I saw on Friday. That's the first thing. Like, let's not just toss the ball around. Take care of the basketball.
Yeah, in their last 7 games, they're 30th in turnovers and turnover percentage, and they're 29th in assisted turnover ratio. I mean, it's just not good. Like, and that's part of it. But I'll also tell you this: like the one game that they turned the ball over like 11 times, which was good. It was the game where they had turned it over 10 times in the first half. I think it was 8 or 9 times in the first quarter. Doug called a timeout, yelled at them. They came out and they stopped turning the ball over. So it's possible for them to stop doing like the basics, to just get into your normal sets. Don't try to do anything crazy. Be where you're supposed to be on the court, and like understand that like it's not a very difficult game. They're making it more difficult on themselves by just not getting in any kind of flow. And even like the one bad turnover that we were talking about earlier, the Domantas Sabonis tried to feed DeRozan on the baseline, and he stopped, and the ball went right out of bounds. It's like, man, you two have been playing together for 55 games or something, 60 games. Nobody, you guys haven't missed a game. I think Domas has missed one game, right? Like
1 or 2, both
yeah,
like 2.
yeah. Like, how exactly are you like not on the same page? You two at least have been here, and it's a very specific isolation play where he's making a move, you're making a move. Like, you have to be in sync with those players. And the same thing with the Monk and Sabonis play that I talked about earlier. I think they did it twice. They like did the pick and roll from the left side, and it's like, what are you doing? Like it's the most beautiful play you have, because Monk loves to do like the high dribble with his right hand and just drop these dimes right to Domantas's left hand, going to the basket where he goes right up with it and lays the ball in. Why would you switch up and go to the other side of the court? That just, again, you're not playing to your own strengths, and it doesn't make any sense. But you back out the play and you start looking, and people are all in the wrong position all over the place, and you're just making life extremely difficult on yourself.
Okay, well, we're going to come back. We'll try to make life easier on Sacramento Kings fans, and we'll do that for a few more minutes with James Ham before we get him in his nice sweater and send him off to the Golden One Center to cover the Kings and the Hornets tonight. So we'll be back with our insider from the Insiders, James Ham, here with D1KC on Sacramento Sports Leader, ESPN 1320. You went out at 40, Hammer? What time again?
Yeah, 40, 45, whatever.
Okay, yeah. Gotcha.
Yeah.
There's girl Jade is trending on my Twitter, at least. It's not universal, right? You know what I'm saying? The trending stuff, I guess it's just the algorithm of what you like. There's a lot of speculation. Jade may be coming back tonight.
I don't think that's how trending works.
Well, I don't know how it works.
Because I see Jade trending. Some are local trends, some are national trends.
Is Trey Lance trending on your trending?
Big Dom is.
See, he's not on mine.
Really?
No.
No, you're right. No Trey Lance. Trey Lance is trending on yours. That's crazy. Wow.
And Kuminga.
Jesus. Hold on. Let me hit trending. Yeah, no.
Stephen
yeah, you have an interesting algorithm over there, pal.
But the thought is, now this will be interesting. This would get me at least to go to YouTube and watch these Raw segments. The speculation is that Bianca, they're going to turn her heel.
About damn time.
And she was the one. Well, Bianca can't go heel.
Oh, Bianca. Yeah, sorry. I heard Jade. Sorry.
Bianca was the one that pushed Jade onto the car.
I'll be honest, I don't know what you're talking about.
You never saw, well, a couple months ago.
Now you know how I feel.
Jade gets pushed onto a car, like breaking the windshield and stuff. And she's been out of commission, obviously. And the story is who did it. Like who did it? And Bianca and Naomi, at first they thought it was Naomi. People were saying it was Naomi. Then they're like, no, it's not Naomi. I'm telling you, it wasn't me. And Bianca's like, listen, we got footage, like, see who it is. And there's Liv like walking away from the dock. So now,
too easy.
Yeah. So now people are like, it was Liv who did it. And that's the question. But a lot of people are like, it's going to come out that it was Bianca.
Do you remember when Triple H had Sean? Yeah, it's that.
Yeah.
Just
Yeah.
recycled it.
They redid. They like did the thing with the digitization. Oh, we cleared up the footage, and there's Hunter. Like, all right,
Instead,
man.
they just didn't throw it through a car window or whatever.
Yeah.
She broke the windshield.
Oh, she did?
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't see that.
Blood?
On the hood of a car? No. She was just laying on the hood of the car. There was dents on it. The windshield was cracked and all. It's like she had been thrown off.
Because they rode her ass off to go
No.
work out or not
That's the
work out,
truth.
but go wrestle.
But that would give me to tap in and see what's going on here. What's going on? What's going on?
So that's tonight. Well, we'll log in.
Well, the people that there's speculation.
Mm-hmm.
Jade is coming back tonight.
Well, it's February
Might
24th.
just-
If you want to
Yeah,
Might need
have
to
them
split
right
screen
now.
this.
Yeah, this is great. No, yeah, have them duel right now in February. This is awesome.
duel.
Yeah,
Fucking century do you
Yeah.
live in?
the same
Like,
as Stephen Brown.
What, Aaron?
Chill out, Club Soda. Leave my guy alone.
Hey,
Relax.
man. Do you like club soda, James?
Club soda, just the drink?
Yeah, just club soda.
Yeah. It's okay.
Okay, I think you're lying. All right, fine. Whatever, man. Whatever.
No, I do vodka sodas with a splash of
You
cream.
know what I asked you? I asked you like club soda. I don't want you to put any vodka in it. I
No.
want you to give a little. Okay.
Not without vodka in it. No.
Whatever. I can't believe I'm on Stephen Brown's team, but that's fine. Me and you, Stephen.
I don't mind it. Because we had one of the little things where you can make your own bubbly
Soda
water.
stream. Absolutely.
Yeah, soda stream. But it's not good for your enamel on your teeth. We found that out later.
Oh, I don't need this shit, James.
Oh.
Like, God,
Oh,
I don't
no.
care. Enamel. I got your enamel right here.
Hmm.
James over here talking about my enamel.
Well,
Just wanted a bubbly treat.
did you see in the Coke? In the cooler out in the main room there, someone went out and bought Shasta. There's Shasta grape soda up in there.
There's
did
nothing
not-
wong with that.
I did.
I haven't seen it since I was like 8.
I
And
was,
I was like,
praising that person earlier. I was praising that person.
I pulled one out and I'm like, oh, I'm gonna drink this morning. And then I thought about it. I'm like, no, I'll probably just get diabetes mid-show and like start getting all sweaty.
Shasta.
Let me get a tiki punch.
Yeah, tiki punch, little orange sodas, all good.
I think there is an orange soda out there too.
I
I'm
think it's
trying to
orange and
see.
grape.
I'm trying to see how often I can just drink water. I'm not doing anything specific. I just whenever I get thirsty, we go for the water instead of.
I grabbed a
something
mini
else.
Sprite in the water today.
Kyle
By the time
tells you
get
to
these
drink
big
water.
sodas, you feel like Andre the Giant.
Only
Kyle
time I'm
tells you
really-
to drink water and be nice to people every single day. Kenny, right before you
Well,
go
I
on.
don't do either. All right, we're coming back, Hammer. All right, we're back here. James and his terrible soda taste.
Yeah, hating on Shasta. Come on.
No, I think he's right about Shasta.
Well, no.
No, I'm about tired of both of you hating on my club soda. all
Well,
day.
I mean, I didn't. First of all, I didn't say anything. Second of all, club soda is trash.
All right, man.
This is like the
Whatever.
7th time Dam's been tired of us in like the last week and a half.
Brown truck will be pulling up soon.
I'm just saying,
Kilo in the mornings. You're gonna finally gonna get the Kenny Caraway show.
Casey and Friends coming soon.
Case, it's gonna happen. It's gonna happen. I'm gonna be the lead into the insiders. Just gonna be me and Justin Case sitting here at 6 a.m.
Shout out just in case.
Me and Gavin.
Oh man, Gavin with the Eagles Minute every morning.
Gavin, get out of my studio. Gavin wouldn't step in here. Gavin hates my guts. It's the funniest freaking thing in the world. That man hates my guts. It's so funny.
Was this a shoot or a work?
No, this is a shoot. Gavin actually hates me.
No.
It's amazing.
I don't know what the issue is.
That man hates me. You know who we haven't talked about? Markelle Fultz.
yeah.
We haven't talked at all about Markelle Fultz. Hammer, let's start with what did you think of his minutes the other day? And is this something like, do you think his role could actually pick up here with Sacramento?
Doug was clear to say after the game, because he's asked about Markelle Fultz. He said very specifically, yeah, I was super impressed with what he did, but I don't know, what that means. And I would say the same exact thing. It's just going to be really tough to get him minutes. And I think everybody sees that this team needs a true point guard. And Markelle Fultz can play that role a little bit, although he's still more of a scoring guard than he is a true point guard. And if they go 10 deep in a rotation, then I think we're going to get Fultz. If they don't, if they go 9 deep, then he'll be the last guy out of the rotation, and he's just kind of on the bubble there. And it's tough because you got a bunch of heavy minute players, and if they're not living up to their expectations, then yeah, there's going to become more and more minutes available. But I certainly think for right now, I would like to see a world in which maybe Zach LaVine isn't the primary ball handler off the bench with the second unit, because that second unit has struggled all year long, and they've moved pieces around and stuff, but it doesn't change the fact that if they don't have like a true leader who's like a distributor in that group, it becomes like the same thing that we've seen, a bunch of guys like who are waiting for someone to pass them the ball to get their shot. So I think Fultz, like, again, he had the big dunk. That was impressive. His takes to the basket were impressive. He hides the fact that he's limited as a shooter by like pushing the tempo and just getting to the rim. And that's a good way to sort of get around the issue that he's just not a very good 3-point shooter.
How'd you feel about his play on Friday though? Like, were you like, if he gave you that every time he stepped onto the floor, would that be good enough for you, or do you want to see a little bit more? Maybe obviously cut the turnovers down a little bit. But what'd you think about how he played on Friday?
Well, yeah, for a guy who hasn't played in 9 months, I thought he played really well. Like, really, I was super impressed with his play on the court. Now, I don't know what that translates to, and he got loose with the handles late in the game, but just like 3-point shooting, and just like free throw shooting, I think turnovers are sort of like when one person catches it, they all catch it. It becomes a trend in a game more than anything else, and so I'm not going to really fault a guy who hasn't been on the court forever and who has never played with the players around him if he turned the ball over 3 times late in a game that didn't matter. At that point, the game was out of control and stuff. So, yeah, I think as a player, he's intriguing, and he's still only 26 years old. Like, you'd like to see what he looks like if he could get more time and sort of get settled somewhere and figure out who he is and what he is as a player and like in a rotation.
Hammer, in not having any expectations for Markelle Fultz and just kind of see where this like all fits is fine. What about Keegan Murray? What is your honest assessment of where Keegan Murray is at this point through the 3rd season of his career?
I don't know. I know this it might sound like a bit of a cop out, but I kind of feel like he's a victim of circumstance. And this team doesn't have any defensive players outside of him and Keon. And so they ask so much of him. And I thought against the Warriors, I thought he did a tremendous job defensively. I thought he was spectacular on the defensive end of the court. And I thought when he was given an opportunity, he was good on offense too. The problem is he's not going to get that opportunity unless he demands that opportunity. And he's demanding that opportunity from a bunch of dudes who like their own opportunities. And that's not like easy. I think the real question is, like, how much do you have to pay him? What is his extension going to look like? And I think that's going to be like, that's up for major debate, because his people are still going to say, hey, look, we want a max extension because we think X, Y, and Z. And the Kings are going to say, well, look at the points per game, look at the 3-point shooting being down and all that stuff. At the end of the day, like, I feel the same way I do about Keegan that I did for a long time about Harrison Barnes. Like, you need more Keegan Murrays, you don't need less. And you need players that do what he does. You need 2-way players, guys who can hold their own on both ends of the court. And as of right now, the Kings only have like 3 or 4 players that can hold their own, not excel, but at least hold their own on both ends of the court. And that's not a good place to be in. And so I still think he's a valuable member to this team. And, I still think they love what he does. I don't think he's untouchable like he once was. But I also don't think that I think he has more value to the Kings than he does anyone else. And because they don't have anyone else that does what he does, and their salary cap situation is a holy mess now. That's not going to get any better anytime soon. And so you almost have to just like whatever it takes to get that deal done, just push your chips in because that's you're kind of in that situation.
You think rightfully so, they should ask for whatever they want, his side. Do you think he should get the max extension?
I would put him at more of a 4-year between 90 and 100 million. I think he's in the range of Cam Johnson. He's in the range of I don't know. Like there are other players like Trey Murphy got a lot more than that, and I don't think that he's kind of put himself in that situation where he's a player like offensively on the rise. Like defensive players make money in the league, but they don't make that type of money. Dorian Finney-Smith, like $13-14 million a year. Like you make good money as a defender, but it's players that score and defend that actually get the big dollar. And so it's a tough decision. And especially with the other decisions the Kings made this offseason. I mean, like during the season, like picking up Zach LaVine's contract, that's a big blow to your overall financial situation, your ledger moving forward. And, there's going to have to be tough decisions at some point. And you really don't want to be one of those tough decisions with a young player like Keegan. But that doesn't change the fact that, when you have a guy who's going to make 46 and 49 million, you got another guy who's going to make 40 plus in Domas. You got another guy who's going to make 25 in DeMar. Another guy's going to make 20 in Malik. Like you end up running out of money eventually. And especially if you're going to run out of money and you're going to start paying luxury tax, but your team is not very good, that's not usually a great idea, and you don't want to lock into players that you don't know what their true value is, because one thing to sign, Keegan Murray, let's say you give him the 4-year, like $118 million deal or 4-year, $130 million deal. Like, can you move on from that contract after you do that? And are you in a situation where it's kind of like the Tobias Harris contract where you're just paying a lot for a guy who's a very good player, but he doesn't reach that level that you're paying that money for? And, the Kings, because of their other decisions, have put themselves in a situation where they really can't do that.
James, get out of here. You've got to get to the Golden One Center and go cover this lovely basketball team.
Hooray, 14-win team versus 28-win team.
We got this. We got this, Hammer.